What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Like the Snow, back today with another video. Today, again, I have my good friend Daigo Knight. Say it, everybody.
How's it going, everybody?
So we have a battle of the favorites. Like, I'm not even remotely kidding around. Like, this is gonna be a very hot take on a first battle video because everybody loves Itachi, everybody loves Kakashi, and so what would it be like if they went head to head? I mean, we've seen that before, but now we thought of an idea to just do all forms throughout their history specifically. And I know I've done this video sort of in the past, but that was again like War Kakashi versus alive prime Itachi. So I think this time around I want to do it a little bit more extensively and do Kakashi versus Itachi throughout the different time periods of their respective ages and respective forms. So I mean, that's pretty much cut and dry. So like, for instance, like the first one will be Kid Kakashi versus Kid Itachi, but with no Sharingan. And so like, for example, it'll be like right before they get their respective Sharingan. So Kakashi right before he gets his Sharingan in the third war, and Itachi right before his Sharingan manifests in the fight with Obito. And yeah, so stuff like that. And we'll go like more along like the forms of explaining them as we go throughout this video, just to make this video not super long, but long enough for y'all to be entertained, obviously. So Daigo, you got anything to say before we start getting into it?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Several different versions. I think we have some diverging opinions as well. Should be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So I said like I said, just going into Kid Kakashi versus Kid Itachi. This one's I think this one would be very interesting to see. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I think this one would be the more funner ones to watch in the show if it actually happened. Because they're both like experienced in all aspects that they have, ninjutsu and taijutsu. But if I'm gonna be honest, though, let's be honest, not Itachi, but Kakashi has a little bit more experience on Itachi. And that's not to say Itachi doesn't have any experience at all, because he definitely does. Because that man was pretty much promoted at Chunin at like what, 8 years old or something like that. He was able to skip the whole freaking bracket in the final round and was immediately promoted to Chunin. So that's saying something.
The problem, like, Kakashi was made a ninja when he was 5, and then he got promoted when he was 6. So that's even more impressive for like the prodigy stuff.
Yeah, and then people like Chunin at 12, bro. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem with this fight, is that Kakashi, he became Jonin at what, 12? I think it was 13 actually, but still, it's very young. Mm-hmm. And he was already a Jonin before he got the Sharingan from Obito. Mm-hmm. Itachi wasn't a Jonin yet. He wasn't even close to it. He was just 8. Yeah. So there is going to be a pretty big age gap in this fight, which is also going to be the case for the other fights, because Itachi is generally younger than Kakashi throughout the series, but in this particular situation here, it makes much more difference.
Yeah, well,
Kakashi was going into the war, he was facing against Jonin level opponents every other day. Itachi, sure, he has done some stuff, but not as much stuff, I would say, but this fight would be cool because they'd be both like very intelligent characters that would fight kind of like real ninjas would fight without that many, eccentric powers and stuff. It would be a lot of shuriken, kunai stuff. I think it would be cool to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Because like, you gotta think too, because like Kakashi was sparring. I'm assuming sparring most of the time with Minato. So he's already used to fast-paced combat. You know what I'm saying? So, I think like you said, and like you said, he's in the war. He's fighting, Jonin pretty much every day. And he's got a little bit more experience on the line under his belt. And so, like I said, that's not to say Itachi doesn't have any experience, but if they had to go head to head in this respective fight, I think Kakashi does take it more often than not.
Yeah, and the problem I see here is that in this point of the story, Kakashi is already a fully developed ninja. Sure, he doesn't have the Sharingan yet, but he is like a full-fledged shinobi. Yeah, Itachi is really powerful, but he's not nearly done evolving. Yeah, of course. He doesn't have all the abilities he's eventually going to acquire, and doesn't have the experience either. Mm-hmm. And I would even argue that in this particular point, Kakashi will be more intelligent just because he's much older.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like Kid Itachi is nothing to sleep on, because he's not. He's like in the books and in the light novels that he was in, it was shown that he's doing something that's pretty impressive to me. That it's like it almost sounds like even at the age of like 4 or 5, before he's even enrolled in the academy, that he's doing something that's akin to what Sakura and Tsunade do, where it's like he's amping his strength with chakra control. So it seems like he's like got a pretty good handle on like being able to control his chakra, even at a young age. So like stuff like that, you know, Kid Itachi's capable of. So it's nothing to sleep on. But again, I just think at the end of the day, Kid Kakashi takes.
Yeah.
Moving on to Anbu Kakashi and Anbu Itachi. Again, we're talking about like right at both of their peaks. So like this the day before Itachi defected from the Leaf Village, and Kakashi's very last day in Anbu, like their respective peaks in the Anbu.
So it's roughly a 13-year-old Itachi versus 17-year-old Kakashi, something like that.
Right. And I mean, this honestly would still be just as fun as the Kid Kakashi and Itachi one to watch. Personally, to me, I feel like this one just like, I think it'd be kind of crazy. Because at first they'd be going at each other with like, you know, some small scale ninjutsu and taijutsu fight, which I think very impressive to watch. Daigo, what are you thinking?
Yeah, they would obviously start with their Sharingan already activated, but the beginning would be a very, you know, I wouldn't say slow paced fight, but they would study each other a lot and see what they can do. Problem is, like, Itachi kinda killed his entire clan at this age, and sure, Kakashi is very impressive, but I wouldn't say he's that impressive. And even in Naruto Part 1, when they actually fight each other, Kakashi's actually scared of a 13-year-old Itachi when he's fighting against Itachi, and then he tells Asuma and Kurenai when Itachi's like kind of no-dipping them, he says, "Oh, this is nothing. He was a Nambu member. He was a Nambu squad leader when he was 13. He doesn't show anything yet."
I'm about to say, yeah,
you're like,
see
okay,
half of what he can do.
yeah. It's pretty crazy, and when you take into account that Kakashi was much more powerful than this Kakashi that was fresh out of the Anbu, I don't think it looks very good for Kakashi in this particular scenario.
No, I mean, Kakashi even said like to Yamato, he's like, bro, he's gonna be more of an exceptional, like he's already like an exceptional shinobi, like right off the bat. Like that was like Itachi's like first week, if that, in the Anbu. And Kakashi was already like giving him props. He's like, he's gonna be a lot more like more capable shinobi than I am.
And also, like, obviously this is not the same Itachi as the one who like left the Anbu. The day he left the Anbu, for example, but it wasn't that long after when he joined the Akatsuki, and then he like one-shot Orochimaru, no diff whatsoever. Like that was maybe a couple of weeks after that. I would say it's a pretty comparable version to the one who was slaughtering the Uchiha clan.
Oh, for sure. And like, if I'm being honest with you, like, I don't know if you agree with this one, but I honestly believe, in my personal opinion, that this Kakashi may or may not put up a better fight than some of the Uchiha who only have base Sharingan.
Oh yeah, I would say so, probably.
So like, but that
obviously, like, it would be a 1v1. It wouldn't be, you know, a lot of Uchiha swarming in on Itachi, and we don't even know how many Uchihas he killed because the Obito took care of a lot of the police force. But it is implied that Itachi also killed a lot of several powerful shinobi.
Yeah.
But Kakashi would be more powerful than a lot of them, I would say.
Yeah, and so like, but that having said that though, and I do think this, like, he does put up a fight, but at the end of the day, we also got to remember that, I mean, Itachi does still have his MS now. He doesn't use it a lot, but
I think he wouldn't need the MS for this fight, but if, I mean, push comes to shove, I don't think Kakashi can do anything against Amaterasu or Tsukiyomi.
No.
Which we know Itachi had access to in this point in the story.
Yeah, he used Tsukiyomi on Izumi, and he also used Amaterasu on one of the Foundation members that he was trying. He thought he was gonna get revenge for Shishui anyway, so he's like, all right, he immobilized him with a Genjutsu, and he's like, all right, Amaterasu, and so yeah, and so like I said, I kind of agree that like it may or may not come to shove, but I do see your point that it probably wouldn't even get that far. And it's not like a slouch on Kakashi, because I think Kakashi's very impressive. You know, I think, let's be honest, when it comes to the Anbu and honestly most of the Jonin in the village, I would say if we're talking about Itachi being at number 1, I'm pretty sure Kakashi comes in at a close second. You know, especially at that time period.
In Naruto Part 1, Kakashi is the strongest Jonin in the Leaf Village, either him or Guy. Like, they're pretty much tied. So he's very impressive. But the problem is that it's just a kind of a mismatch in this fight, particularly because the thing Kakashi has going for him is a Sharingan, and he's like borrowing the Sharingan while Itachi is a prodigy of the Sharingan with the Uchiha bloodline.
Yeah.
it's just not very fair.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, I do agree that, like, because there's been some contention about the Anbu Kakashi filler arc, and I understand it's filler, but it's also Kakashi's a main character, so I don't see why it should be like filler. But I do agree with the consensus that it kind of retcons Kakashi's performance in part 1, because he just seems more impressive in the Anbu Kakashi filler arc than he does in part 1 in general. So I'm not going to necessarily agree with his performance per se, because it should still, relative to part 1, wasn't really that great. So as far as stamina,
You mean the fight against Itachi?
well, then just in general, like his stamina wise, like Kakashi wasn't really. I mean, let's just be honest. Like part 1, Kakashi's kind of fought up his stamina.
I mean, it's not fodder, but
Well, compared to Itachi, anyway. Like, you know.
I mean, yeah. He does it. The Sharingan issue is a little bit more prevalent, and yeah, they don't go into that in the filler arc, which I think is an oversight.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, yeah, Itachi takes this one. Now, I 1 to 10. I think Itachi takes this one 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't really see Kakashi winning this scenario here.
I think it's possible. Personally, I do think it's possible, because like I do think that Kakashi could put up a good fight and maybe come out, because Kakashi's like one of those like lucky people that might come out with the win, but I do agree that Itachi takes it more often than not. So now we'll go on to, we're gonna just like skip part 1, because that obviously happens. So so now we're gonna go on to Shippuden Kakashi versus Itachi, and we're kind of gonna condense Shippuden Kakashi from the beginning to Pain Arc.
Yeah, so Pain Arc would be the peak of this character, kind of.
Yeah, and then against this Itachi that pretty much just fought Sasuke. You know, if we're doing it chronologically, then yeah, it's the Itachi that fought Sasuke, like as full of health as he could be. And I mean, Kakashi does pretty good. Like, I'll give it to my boy. He's got more reserves now. He's more proficient with Kamui. But Daigo, you want to go take the reins on this one?
Yeah. I mean, Kakashi's definitely much more powerful in this scenario here, especially because he has Kamui now. And in the Pain fight, he's actually able to use Kamui twice. No, 3 times actually, or 2. No, 2 times.
2 times.
He uses 2 times against Pain, and he was also using a lot of jutsus before that. The Lightning Shadow Clone, the Lightning Hound. He was using Raikiri, but like Itachi, he is still faster than Kakashi here in terms of taijutsu and stuff like that, and reaction time. And he still has Amaterasu, which I don't really see much of an answer for Amaterasu. Kakashi was going to do, like, it's just going to spawn around his body. There is an interesting argument to be made that maybe he could Kamui the flames away while they're burning him. But even if that's the case, he can't do that for that long, because he's going to run out of chakra before Itachi does. Kakashi has to exert much more effort to use his Mangekyo than Itachi does, even though it also hurts Itachi. But Itachi also has not the perfect Susanoo, but the completed Susanoo with Totsuka Blade and the Auto Mirror if he's forced to use it, which I don't even think he would in this situation.
No, not against Pain. I think at worst case, he'd probably just use the scale. I say if he really felt pressure to, he'd just use the rib cage. But I don't think he necessarily gets to that point. I think Itachi relatively should be able to handle Pain or Kakashi without the Susanoo. That's not a slight on Kakashi. Believe me, guys. Y'all know me. I'm the biggest Kakashi fan out there. But I don't necessarily think the skeletal Susanoo when it comes to, because even though like Kakashi knows what to look out for now, because he does know Itachi's arsenal.
But to be honest, he doesn't really know about the Susanoo in this point of the story.
No, he doesn't. But I will say though, I was surprised when Sasuke.
He was dealing with it pretty well against Sasuke's son, yeah.
Well, I was surprised that he knew about it. I was surprised that he even he took one look at it. He's like, oh, that's the Susanoo. Like, he didn't even. It was never even shown that Kakashi had any kind of like he didn't. It was never shown that he did any kind of research on. Maybe
he heard when Shizu was escaping the root Anbu members, and then Shizu used his Susanoo, and then maybe Kakashi learned something about it. I don't know. Some characters, they seem to know jutsu that they probably shouldn't in the story, and it's just, okay.
Maybe he did some history research on Madara, maybe, and he's maybe it was said that maybe in the history books Madara could use the Susanoo and describe what it is or something like that. So I was always surprised that Kakashi just outright knew the second Sasuke whipped it out. But so I guess he probably assumed that Itachi already has it. but he probably wouldn't know anything about the Totsuka blade or the Yadamir and how they work. So
the best thing Kakashi would have going for him is to snipe Itachi with his Kamui, which is something he barely ever does.
Yeah.
And when he does against Deidara, he just cuts an arm off, which is not the best thing. And Itachi is faster than Deidara, and I mean Itachi wouldn't be flying in a straight line like Deidara was, making it easier for Kakashi to aim. So I don't really see Kakashi winning this particular scenario.
I mean, if he did, it would have to come out into a really lucky. Now, I've said this before that and this is kind of where me and Daigo are agreeing to disagree. Now, we understand where we're both coming from and whatnot, but it's one of those things where it's like when it comes to feats, when it comes to intelligence, it's like it's really hard for me personally to scale one person above the other when it comes to this. And so I always typically said that they're like right on par with each other. So I think it's totally within the realm of possibility Kakashi could outsmart Itachi. Will it be the easiest thing he's ever done? Absolutely not. But conversely, I do think that it's relatively possible that if Itachi tries to outsmart Kakashi, that Kakashi could think on the fly and react in enough time, maybe get out of said situation or whatever. But and where I was going with that is like if Amaterasu, he tries to hit Amaterasu on Kakashi or Yomi and tries to like fake out Kakashi in any kind of way, I feel as though that Kakashi knowing what those are and Itachi's are definitely help. Like Kakashi having knowledge of someone's abilities is dangerous, no matter who to me. So like and now is it a guarantee that he's
I mean, you can also say the same thing about Itachi, because he's the guy that's always saying, oh, every jutsu has a flaw and I can exploit that flaw. So I still think Itachi is smarter than Kakashi. How much smarter? Not that much, but I would say Itachi is smarter than him, but I can see arguments to the opposite.
Well, as I said, I feel like that's why I always say like I feel like they're relative to each other, that they're like on the same, like on par with each other, like as far as like just terms on the fly attack. So it's like I don't know, like obviously the answer to this fight is obvious. Like I still think Itachi takes it. It's just one of those things. Like I always try to look. It might just be because of me being a Kakashi fanboy. Like I always try to like find that little window of an opportunity that, like, maybe he could take the win. But no, I definitely do agree that Itachi takes it. If I had to do like a 1 to 10, I'd say that Itachi probably takes 9 or 10 for the most part. Because let's be honest, like if we're doing this scaling wise, then Itachi could have easily killed Heavy Sasuke, even with his sickness and near death playing a factor.
Itachi could easily kill Heavy Sasuke, and Heavy Sasuke is stronger than Kakashi. So so it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
Itachi's no joke, especially Kakashi here, who is still not terribly proficient with Kamui, as he's gonna get in the war arc. So he doesn't have a lot of answers.
Yeah. So I will say that if Itachi tried to launch a Yasaka beads, that Kakashi might be able to snipe him away, because he did snipe away that arrow from Sasuke. So it's like, but that's like the only thing I can see like in defense of Susanoo. But then after that, like he gets hit with the Totsuka blade, he's done. Again, when it comes to, well, I'll get into that. But yeah, so right now, like, Shippuden Kakashi versus Shippuden Itachi. Now we'll go on to War Arc Kakashi versus this same Itachi that we were just talking about. And I think this is where the scale gets tipped a little bit. I'm not gonna say not too much, but again, this is where Daigo and me have our opinions, but we respectively have ours. We understand because we do understand where both of us are coming from. It's just one of those things where it's like again, it's just me being a Kakashi fanboy. I think that Kakashi does considerably well, or considerably better than the previous forms would.
I mean, I also think he does better, but I don't think he wins this very consistently. I think you'd think he actually wins it in a pretty decent amount of times.
Well, I guess considering who he's up against, I suppose it's one of those things where, like, again, I try to find like windows that he might be able to take it in the situational case. Like for instance, I brought up to Daigo that this might be a way that Kakashi could sweep the win, is if somehow Kakashi is able to use some clones as distractions or whatnot, and one of them, maybe even the real Kakashi, goes and does the headhunter and maybe pops up within Itachi Susanoo and has like a point blank Kamui snipe right there. I know that's like that could be stretching it a bit, And for those of you who think that it may not even work that way, like the whole headhunter jutsu, but like Gaara was able to like use the sand underneath Madara's feet to kind of just straight yeet.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Kakashi would be able to, in principle, enter Itachi Susanoo if he wanted to. But the kind of argument that I bring is that I don't think that the time for you to Kamui something away, especially Kakashi's Kamui, changes regarding the distance. It's going to be the same time if you are like 100 feet away or if you're point blank.
Yeah.
Because it is a long distance Kamui regardless.
Yeah.
I don't think the distance will change how effective it gets. Unlike Obito's Kamui that, I mean, if Obito is touching whoever he's going to absorb, yeah, it's going to be much faster.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the only reason he would do the headhunter jutsu is just to come bypass the Susanoo without having to, like, you know, go through the trouble of sniping the Susanoo first to try to get to Itachi. That was the only reason why I was thinking, like, maybe the headhunter jutsu might play a huge help in that scenario.
And Kamui can definitely snipe the Susanoo. Not the entire thing. He can probably open a hole just like it opened a hole on Madara's truth-seeking orbs, because, I mean, truth-seeking orbs are basically the same thing as the Yaramir.
Yeah, pretty much,
But, and Kakashi was able to Kamui those away. I mean, Kamui seems to be like a counter for everything, essentially. Everything that's supposed to nullify ninjutsu is nullified by Kamui. But the problem is, yes, Kakashi does have a lot more chakra, and he's much better with Kamui in this situation, but it's not as though he still has like infinite chakra.
Yeah.
Because he did a lot of impressive stuff in the war, but he was recharged by Naruto.
Yeah.
And I would still bring up Amaterasu, and it would be difficult for Kakashi to dodge that.
Yeah.
Even in this heightened state.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, like, and this is one of the things I had brought up earlier, is that, like, so if we kind of scale this from character to character, and it's weird because the scaling is because of different things that these characters have. So, like, the Raikage was able to dodge an Amaterasu being shot at him by Sasuke because of his just overall, like, reaction speed, right? Kakashi,
and also, like, just movement speed, too, because you have to be fast, too.
And Kakashi, you know, in the war arc is able to keep tabs on, you know, KCM2 Naruto for a pretty good bit of the war arc in this fight against Obito. And so, it's one of those things where, like, yes, Kakashi is not, you know, on the level of speed as the Raikage, obviously. But I think his reaction time, along with his visual perception, might, because you know, the Raikage was able to dodge it without having any dojutsu or any like visual perception. He just had.
Yeah, to be fair, he was also like fighting against Minato, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Back in the day.
So it's one of those things like you know. I think because of the visual perception that Kakashi has, it's well within the realm of possibility that Kakashi could see the chakra. Because the same thing that kind of happened with Obito in the war arc when Sasuke was trying to shoot Amaterasu at Jubito, and Jubito kind of saw that the flames were going to be manifested right where he started like spinning the staff or whatever. And it's not really sure. It's not really like 100% sure if it was because of the Rinnegan or the Sharingan that was able to perceive the flames. If it is a Sharingan and Obito has, you know, or Kakashi has the same eye, then it's possible that Kakashi could see the chakra being built up in Itachi's eye. But Daigo also pointed out a good point to me that if Kakashi is looking at Itachi's eye and trying to dodge Amaterasu before it even happens, there's a good chance that Itachi might switch up the jutsu and hit Tsukiyomi on Kakashi.
Yeah.
And
Tsukiyomi, I don't see Kakashi breaking out of it in this state, even though he's much more powerful with the Sharingan. Sure, Sasuke did break out of it, but Sasuke is a true-blood Uchiha. He had 2 Sharingan, and he also had to use the curse mark to amp himself.
Yeah.
Before he broke out of it. Kakashi here, I don't know. I don't think he does very well against Tsukiyomi.
I think personally, it would honestly depend on how Itachi's doing in the situation. I think that maybe
I don't think like how tired you are is gonna matter in terms of how powerful your Tsukiyomi is going to be.
No, I don't.
It's kind of like Amaterasu. If you're able to cast Amaterasu, even if you're really tired, it's gonna work the same way. It's gonna burn everything away.
No, I didn't mean like that. I meant like more of like trying to get Tsukiyomi off, like trying to get like maybe. I don't know. I was probably thinking that maybe just I don't know. I think because Kakashi knows what to look out for this time around and knows that you know how Tsukiyomi works now.
He would probably just try to avert his gaze during the entire fight, which means he's not going to be able to see the chakra building up for Amaterasu, which would be a problem.
Yeah, so it's like one of
it's kind of like, what do you want to do? Do you want to avoid Amaterasu, or do you want to avoid Tsukuyomi? It's a pretty tough situation.
Now I know,
and you also brought up the point that maybe if Kakashi gets hit by by Amaterasu, he could convoy the flames out of his body, kind of like how Nagato was able to Shinra Tensei Amaterasu away, which maybe he can do that. He never really uses Kamui on himself.
Yeah.
Unless when he is inside the Kamui dimension. I think it's a bit of a stretch, but it's an interesting thought, though. But even if you consider that, I would even argue that Kakashi would come out losing in terms of just chakra exchange. Itachi would have to use less chakra to hit Kakashi with one Amaterasu than Kakashi would have to use Kamui and get rid of the flames. He would spend more chakra than Itachi in this situation, so it would be a net loss for him.
Yeah, as I'm saying, like I think in this version, now I know what people are gonna say is that Kakashi could just make clones to distract Itachi. And look, let's not play
Itachi can kind of do the same.
I was gonna say that, like, let's not play devil's advocate and pretend that Itachi can't literally do the same thing. So like, I mean, worst case, it's going to be a battle of clones.
And also, like, they both have offensive clones. Like, Itachi has the explosive shadow clone, and Kakashi has lightning style clone, which they both do damage when they kind of explode.
Can you imagine just, like, lightning clones and exploding shadow clones on the field, like, going at each other? That'd be crazy to see. Oh my god. The
problem is that neither Kakashi or Itachi can use a lot of clones at the same time. It would be, like, one or two at most.
Yeah. So, I get it. People are saying like Kakashi can use them as distractions more often than not, and like I get it. But at the end of the day, again, this is where the numbers are like tipped in opposite ends of the scale for me and Daigo. I do think that Kakashi could take this like 4 to 5 out of 10. If I'm really highballing him, I'm not trying to sleep on either one. And I feel like I might even get hate in the comments for just saying that War Kakashi couldn't beat Itachi. But I'm not saying he couldn't. I'm saying he could. But I do think that Itachi wins more often than not.
Yeah, for me, Kakashi wins 1, maybe 2 out of 10 times. But I would still say that Itachi has the edge here much more often than not.
And I totally see where he's coming from, too. It's like one of those things where like I might just be playing... Like no, I want Kakashi to win. Like I might be doing that, but I totally see where Daigo's coming from, because Itachi's no joke. Like even sick, and I would even make a case that even a healthy Itachi would have a tough time against this Kakashi. But I'm not gonna get like too much into that. But like I said, I do agree to some extent, like what Daigo's saying, and how
I just think it's just really impressive that a sick Itachi was fighting against heavy Sasuke. It was like a theater fight because he wasn't trying to win.
Yeah.
He was just trying to push him far enough for Orochimaru to come out. And when Orochimaru comes out, after this pretty long fight, Itachi still has chakra to no-diff him.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty impressive. People kind of sleep on Itachi's chakra reserves even when he's sick, because he actually has some decent chakra.
Yeah. No, I've been guilty of that too. Like I have been guilty of that too. So I'm not trying to sleep on Itachi either. I don't know. War Kakashi is a monster. Like it's like one of those things. Like these are two monsters here. So, so now we'll comfortably move on to War
Edo Itachi versus
Itachi.
War.
Yeah, and let's not waste too much time on this one, y'all. Like I'm pretty sure we can all agree that this one's a stomp. Like unless Kakashi has some sealing jutsu with War.
I think it's fair to say he has copied a sealing ninjutsu. Or like back in the day, one of these 1,000 jutsus is gonna be a sealing jutsu. But even with that, Itachi can spam his mangekyo abilities here. He would completely annihilate Kakashi.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I said like the one that I can give him, like the 1 to 10, like the one that I could give Kakashi is if he's able to make a battle plan to seal Itachi. That would be the only thing that I could see, and doing that's a lot easier said than done. So
there's also we didn't talk about this, but we don't even know how Raikiri would interact with the Susanoo. I'm mostly talking about a ribcage, because that's what Itachi would probably use when he's alive to try and counter a Raikiri that's about to hit him. Would the Raikiri just pierce through the ribcage? Would it be ineffective? We don't know that, and I think it's interesting because the Rasengan seems to be completely useless against the most basic Susanoo ribcage, but Chidori has different property. It's piercing and not, bludgeoning damage.
Yeah,
So,
and I can see what people are arguing for is that like the Susanoo that like Naruto was using Rasengan for is in the hands of someone who's significantly stronger, and I get this Susanoo might be weakened because of Itachi having like sickness and whatnot. So I mean, I think there's a good argument to be made that Chidori could pierce through the Susanoo ribcage. I don't see a reason why it probably couldn't, but I mean, Tsunade's punch, full force punch, barely was breaking.
it just cracked it a little bit.
So
I think the ribcage has the edge here. If I were to make an educated guess, I don't think Itachi would struggle with Kakashi's Raikiri, considering he can activate the Susanoo instantaneously.
Yeah.
He tanked Kirin that way.
I was gonna say like it tanked Kirin, and whether you want to say it's a Yadomir or not, like he still used the Susanoo to tank it one way or the other. So like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure that a corporeal Susanoo wouldn't struggle at all against Raikiri, not even the Yadomir. But
yeah.
I think the ribcage is a much more interesting comparison to me.
Well, so I'm saying, like, if we're taking like that into account, if we're scaling both, just like Kirin compared to the Raikiri, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So we're breaking the corporeal Susanoo to the ribcage Susanoo and putting it up against the minus version of Kirin. And yeah, I think one or two, or two or three like Raikiris would probably get enough to get the job done, but yeah, like I said, one's for sure not gonna outright break it. I think maybe like at best it just kind of cracks it like Tsunade's. So now we'll go on to DMS versus Edo, and now
look.
Now we get on to my boy. Look, man, Itachi's won most of them so far, and so we got to give my boy something. Daigo, you want to take?
I mean, Kakashi beats Itachi in this situation I think a Kamui Shuriken just Kamui's Itachi's entire Susanoo and himself into the Kami dimension, and it's over. And Kakashi's definitely going to have a silly jutsu to deal with him. But I would make an argument, if I were to defend Itachi, because
no, go for it. Yeah.
I'm taking more of the Itachi side here. Maybe Tsukiyomi would still work if Itachi makes eye contact with Kakashi. That's the only thing I can kind of say for Itachi.
No, I totally get it. Because Tsukiyomi's still Tsukiyomi, you know what I'm saying? It's still a deadly genjutsu. It's probably the deadliest genjutsu.
Yeah.
We're not counting Shishui's, super Okoto Matsukami. I do think that, like, because there's an argument that, like, it's one of those things where you never really know, because apparently it's Obito's chakra inside Kakashi, so, like...
Yeah, he has a bit of Six Paths chakra that Obito gave for him because he was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, and he got a residual chakra, and then he kind of passed it on after he died and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I can see an argument that because he has that more powerful chakra, he could just break out of Tsukiyomi, because now obviously he can use the perfect Susanoo, meaning that he is better with a Mangekyo than Itachi is inherently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not even that. Like, I mean, if it was like on the ground, hand to hand, without using the Susanoo, I think
no, Itachi would still lose because Kakashi can phase through things and he can use Kamui Raikiri.
Yeah.
There's no way, like, the only thing I can see is Tsukiyomi. That's the only, like, maybe Itachi can use Tsukiyomi if Kakashi makes eye contact and if Kakashi is unable to break out of it. But other than that, there's nothing Itachi can do.
Yeah. Even in Edo, there's really not much.
No, yeah, nothing. Like, Kakashi can phase through stuff like Obito could. Like, this alone makes Kakashi one of the most OP characters in the verse.
Let alone having another Sharingan that makes the teleporting and phasing even faster. So
yeah, like doubling the speed and having a perfect Susanoo and having the Kamui Shuriken and having Kamui Raikiri. DMS Kakashi is really insane.
Very, very
it's a good thing that he only lasts like 2 minutes, because otherwise he would kind of break the verse. He would be like on par with Sasuke and Naruto.
Well, now that you brought that up, it's one of those things where, like, could you think that Itachi can outlast the time limit in Edo?
How? Like...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I was asking. Do you think, like, it's possible? Like, I'm asking you if you think it's possible. Like,
sure, Edo Tensei, they live forever, but assuming that Kakashi is gonna have a sealing jutsu, which I think is fair, he can just completely Kamui Raikiri, do whatever he wants to Itachi and seal him in that situation. Tsukiyomi maybe that works. It's like a 0.1% possibility, I would say.
Yeah.
That Itachi wins this through Tsukiyomi, but other than that, there's absolutely no chance here.
Yeah. So you thinking like what? Kakashi takes it 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
Maybe 9 out of 10. We'll give him that. We'll give Itachi.
No. It's a 10 out of 10.
Hey,
there's
you know what? You say
there's nothing he can do.
You know what? Kick rocks. I'm saying 9 out of 10. I'm giving Itachi that. I'm giving Itachi just so I don't get those Kakashi people out there, or the Itachi people say, oh, you're just being a Kakashi fanboy. Like I am, but I gave Itachi 1. All right.
I mean, yeah, sure. People probably accuse me of being an Itachi fanboy in this video, even though I'm definitely not an Itachi fanboy.
I mean, we gotta take what we can get. You know what I'm saying? So now we'll move on to the last section of this this fight, and it is Hokage Kakashi versus Alive Itachi. And again, this is where the scales are kind of tipped in the opposite directions with me and Daigo. But again, it's respectful because we understand where we're coming from. I do personally think that this Kakashi has a bit of an easier time than War Arc did. Even though he loses his hacks ability, which is common, he gains a lot more physical, like a lot better like physical attributes for one, and he just gained 3 new crazy abilities that we already know of that could honestly help him in a fight like this. Now, I do understand that Itachi's still like above Kage level, but it's just like, I don't know. I think that with all the jutsu that Kakashi has at his disposal, the fire style water mist jutsu, the purple lightning that he can use in several different variants, his stamina being increased and his strength being increased and his speed being increased, I think there's a good argument to be made that he does better than War Arc Kakashi does, even without Kamui. Daigo, you got anything to say? Like, I know I've been kind of rambling on this section.
Yeah, I would still say that the problem with this Kakashi here is that he doesn't have the Sharingan anymore. Now, maybe you could argue that this gives him a stamina advantage, but this also makes him much more vulnerable to Itachi's stuff. Mm-hmm. For instance, like, is he gonna dodge Amaterasu? You did mention that Kakashi is kind of relative to the Raikage now, so maybe he could, but he doesn't have the Sharingan to react to that anymore, and he also doesn't have the Sharingan to resist Itachi's genjutsu, which can be very detrimental to him. And then, because he doesn't have Kamui, the Hex ability anymore, he doesn't really have something that can just bypass the Susanoo.
Yeah.
Now, maybe his Purple Lightning variants are gonna hit very hard and break a Susanoo, maybe a skeletal Susanoo, or even a muscle Susanoo. Mm-hmm. But the Yadomir is gonna tank pretty much anything that you throw against it.
Yeah.
So I would say it's probably very hard for Kakashi either way.
Well, and that's the thing. If he did use Purple Lightning, he'd have to use it like around. He would have to try to find a way to hit it around the Yadomir. Like, there's no way. Like you said, there's no way it's penetrating the Yadomir. And I said, and the Phoenix that Kakashi has, the Flaming Bird, I think is probably going to be his best help on this battle, because the way the book describes it, it sounds like the Phoenix can just remain on the field like once it's summoned, and it can just shoot out attacks that were strong enough to overpower a Sage's 6-pass ninja tool with with an elemental disadvantage towards Kakashi's attack. So I honestly,
Itachi also knows water styles, so maybe he can do something about it.
I mean, like I said, I honestly think that jutsu is Kakashi's biggest help, personally, because that will provide some distractions. Honestly, more so than making some clones would.
That would be a really cool fight though, because I can see something kind of like what happened in the Itachi versus Sasuke fight when Itachi used Amaterasu to extinguish Sasuke's fire. He could do the same thing to Kakashi's Phoenix here. It would be cool to watch that.
That is true. That is, you actually bring up a good point, that Amaterasu may or may not overpower that thing. Who knows?
I'm pretty sure it would definitely extinguish it, but then if Itachi's worried with using Amaterasu against the bird, then Kakashi can try to do something else. You said it functions kind of like a summon, so Kakashi doesn't have to keep tabs on it, controlling it at all times.
Right. So he can just kind of like, maybe that would be the distraction for Itachi. Maybe like Kakashi can maybe capitalize on it and pull a Purple Lightning sneak attack or something like that. And that's like easier said than done because this is Itachi. But
I still think because of Itachi's hacks here that he has the edge though. Like, Amaterasu is definitely very difficult to deal with. And also Tsukiyomi. And then you can also count Posca Blade in that equation too, because it is pretty darn fast. Like it
Yeah.
blitzed Nagato in the war arc.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, Nagato's not like a speedster, but he can do stuff to protect himself, like Shinra Tensei.
Yeah.
And he just didn't have, reaction time to do that, essentially, with a Rinnegan.
Yeah. Well, no, like, don't misunderstand me, y'all. Like, I'm not saying like I think that Itachi does more often. Now I say that, but I told Daigo this. I think that this fight's a 50-50 personally. But I do. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I say the 50-50, but I hate saying that I lean towards Itachi just a little bit more, because I do understand, like, if he gets hit with Tsukuyomi or Amaterasu, it's more or less he's done. Like, that is it. Or Totsuka Blade, then he's done. Like, if he gets hit with one of those one-shots ability, he's done. Now, do I think that Kakashi could avoid those? I do. Now, is it going to be the easiest thing he's ever done? Absolutely not. But I do think that it's in the realm of possibility, because, again, like I said earlier, like, because Kakashi does have knowledge of these abilities, that it does give him that advantage to prepare. I'm not saying that those advantages or that preparation is going to 100% work, but I do think it's, like, in that ballpark. But like I said, if I had to give, like, a rating for this fight, it would definitely. But again, that's like that 0.5. I'm leaning towards Itachi in this. And then
Yeah, I would say I'm leaning towards Itachi more than you are, but I wouldn't give it a precise number, because I have read the light novels. I know about the feats, but not in depth, I would say. So, but
Yeah.
my gut feeling is that Itachi still takes it.
Right. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the rest of the video. I mean, unless I'm missing something, Daigo, you got any?
I mean, I guess we could go over Edo Itachi versus Hokage Kakashi, but
Bro, don't do my boy. Like that. Don't do my boy like that. My boy's already got enough butt whoopings. So I mean, so on that note, I mean, Itachi won this video. I know there was, like, in the middle area, there was some, like, and at least for me, there was some iffy half and half, but for the most part, I think Itachi does video.
though I would say the biggest stomp is for Kakashi with the DMS. He has the most significant victory out of all of them.
Yeah.
Even though Itachi also has some stomps here and there, but DMS just like it's something else.
Curb stomp. That's a curb stomp right there.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I hope you think we covered everything pretty well. I think we did. I hope you think that we were actually giving fairness to both opponents, because these, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, these are two of the favorites of Naruto. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Daigo, thank you so much for being on the channel with me again.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to the next video next Saturday, guys, and until my next out.